The observation deck of the Celestial Harmony offered a view of deep space that most species found unsettling. The infinite darkness, the cold indifference of distant stars reminded them of their mortality, but Elodie stood there anyway, cradling her bandaged arm against her chest. Watching the stars blur past as the ship jumped through subspace, the wound throbbed. 3 parallel gashes, courtesy of a malfunctioning cargo drone that had gone haywire in Bay 7. The medical officer had sealed the cuts with biofoam, but the pain remained sharp, insistent, a reminder that flesh was fragile. Behind her, she heard the chittering before she saw them. The cryonics cubs, no bigger than house cats but covered in iridescent scales that shifted through colors based on their moods, tumbled into the observation deck. There were 4 of them, part of the diplomatic envoy being transported to the Terrancrinix Peace Summit. Currently, they were cycling through aggressive reds and oranges. Elodie, the largest one, whom she'd nicknamed Spark, chirped in the broken standard most juveniles struggled with. "You are wounded." The cubs surrounded her, their crystalline eyes fixed on her bandaged forearm. Their scales rippled with crimson fury, and low growls emanated from their throats, a sound that would have been adorable if Elodie didn't know what it meant. Among the cryonics, injury triggered an automatic rage response. Pain and anger were neurologically linked in their species. When one hurt, one attacked. "It's okay," Elodie said softly, kneeling to their level despite the protest from her arm. "It's just a scratch, you snarl." Spark hissed, his scales now pure scarlet. "We hear it in your voice. Who hurt you? We will shred them." The other cubs echoed the sentiment, their tiny claws extending. In cryonics culture, this was love, the instinct to protect, to retaliate, to ensure that pain was always answered with violence. It was what made the peace negotiations so delicate. How did you make peace with a species that was biologically programmed for vengeance? Elodie looked at their fierce little faces and made a decision that would probably violate several diplomatic protocols. "Come here," she said, settling cross-legged on the floor. "Let me show you something." Curiosity overrode aggression, as it often did with the young. The cubs crept closer, scales still warning bright, but no longer pulsing with quite the same intensity. Carefully, Elodie unwrapped the bandage. The cubs hissed at the sight of the wound, spink and puckered, held together by the translucent biofoam. "When I got hurt," Elodie said, "I didn't get angry. Want to know why?" Spark's head tilted, a gesture so universal across species that it made Elodie smile despite the pain. "Not possible. Pain is anger. All species know this." "Not humans," Elodie replied. She took a breath, knowing she was treading into dangerous territory. Humanity's greatest strength in the galactic community was often seen as its greatest weakness, the ability to separate emotion from instinct, to choose responses rather than be ruled by them. "When I got hurt, I felt pain. Sharp, burning pain." She touched the edge of the wound gently, wincing. "But I also felt other things. I felt worried that I'd delayed the cargo shipment. I felt grateful that it wasn't worse. I felt a little embarrassed that I didn't see the drone coming." The cub's scales began to shift, confusion mixing with the aggression, flickers of blue appearing among the red. "You felt multiple things?" asked the smallest cub, Shimmer. "At same time, yes. Humans can hold lots of feelings together. Pain doesn't have to mean anger. Sometimes it just means we need to be more careful next time." "But the one who hurt you," Spark began. "The drone malfunctioned. It didn't choose to hurt me. Getting angry at it would be like getting angry at a storm for raining." Elodie wrapped the bandage back around her arm. "And even if someone had hurt me on purpose, I could choose whether to be angry or not. Pain is just information. It tells me something's wrong. What I do with that information is up to me." The cubs were fully blue now, the color of deep thought in their species. They looked at each other, then back at Elodie as if she'd just revealed that gravity was optional. "Humans choose their rage," Spark said slowly. "We choose whether to rage at all," Elodie confirmed. "And most of the time, we choose not to, because anger takes energy, and we'd rather use that energy for other things, like healing, or preventing the same injury from happening again." Or she reached out and gently touched Spark's scales, teaching curious cubs about the universe. Shimmer approached hesitantly, reaching out a tiny claw to touch Elodie's bandage with surprising gentleness. "This is why humans win wars." The question caught Elodie off. "What do you mean?" "The elders talk," another cub, Flicker, chimed in. "They say humans are strange warriors. You fight not from rage but from ... decision. Cold decision. It frightens them." Elodie nodded slowly. It was true, in a way. Humanity's military effectiveness came not from superior technology or physical prowess, but from the ability to remain calm under pressure, to adapt, to separate emotion from strategy. Where other species fought with the fury of the wounded, humans fought with the precision of chess players. We don't like war, Elodie said quietly. But when we must fight, we fight smart. We fight to end the fighting, not to feed our anger. The cubs sat in silence, processing. Their scales had shifted to a soft purple, the color of paradigm shifts, of worldviews cracking open. Finally, Spark spoke. When we grow large, we will remember this. We will tell our clutches. The human Elodie bled and did not rage. She showed us that pain and anger are not the same. His scales shimmered with a color Elodie had never seen, a pale gold that seemed to glow from within. This is hope color, Spark explained. First time I feel it. Elodie felt her eyes sting with tears she refused to shed. For small aliens, sitting in our observation deck, learning that rage was optional, it seemed like such a small thing. But perhaps that's how peace always began. Not with grand treaties or political maneuvering, but with a wounded woman and some curious cubs, discovering that the universe had more possibilities than their biology suggested. Thank you for believing me, Elodie whispered. Spark's scales pulsed golden. Thank you for being hurt where we could see, he replied, with the blunt honesty of children everywhere, and for not lying about it. As the stars continued their endless dance beyond the viewport, Elodie sat with the cubs until their guardians came looking for them. She knew that tomorrow, the diplomatic talks would continue, full of posturing and ancient grievances. But tonight, in this small moment, for young cryonics had learned something their species had never known. Pain didn't have to mean anger, and sometimes, the bravest thing a human could do was simply be human, complicated, contradictory, and choosing compassion over instinct. One small decision at a time.